there, I'm Marcy Chavalis and it's story time. Today's story is a classic one. It's Curious George by HA Rey. We'll flip it over in the back to learn what we're going to read about today. Get some clues. Read all about Curious George and his monkey shines. Curious George is in jail. How did he get in? How will he get out? Curious George is up in the air. How did he get up? How will he get down? Oops! Now what? Oh my goodness, so Curious George in jail and in the air and in the ocean? I need to keep reading to figure out what is going on with this monkey who's going to jail. Join me as we read. Are you ready? All right, let's grow. If you're an AR reader, this is an AR book. It's level 2.6, worth half a point, and it's quiz number 5509. Let's grow. This is George. He lived in Africa. He was very happy, but he had one fault. He was too curious. One day, George saw a man. The man saw George, though he had on a large yellow straw hat. The man saw George too. What a nice little monkey, he thought. I would like to take him home with me. The man put his head on the ground, and of course George was curious. He came down from the tree to look at the large yellow hat. The hat had been on the man's head. George thought it would be nice to have it on his own head. He picked it up and put it on. The hat covered George's head. He couldn't see. The man picked him up quickly and popped him into a bag. George was caught. Now, is this what we do when we go to the forest? We just grab animals? No. Luckily, this story is a make-believe story. So this story is something that did not really happen. We do not want to kidnap the wildlife and take it home with us. But in this story, that's what happens because it's make-believe. The man with the big yellow hat put George into a little boat, and a sailor rowed them both across the water to a big ship. George was sad, but he was still a little curious. I'd be sad too if you're taking me away from my house. On the big ship, things began to happen. The man took off the bag. George sat on a little stool, and the man said, "George, I'm going to take you to a big zoo in a big city. You will like it there. Now run along and play, but don't get into trouble." George promised to be good, but it is easy for little monkeys to forget. On the deck, he found some seagulls. He wondered how they could fly. He was very curious. Finally, he had to try. It looked easy, but... oh, what happened? So what do you think happened to George if he got on the edge of a ship and he thought he could fly and he started trying to flap his arms? Yeah, he can't fly. He's not a bird. He's going to fall in the water. First this, then this. Where is George? The sailors looked and looked. At last they saw him struggling in the water and almost all tired out. Oh no. "Man overboard!" the sailors cried as they threw him a lifebelt. George caught it and held on. At last he was safe on board. After a good meal and a good pipe, George felt very tired. Now this story was written a very long time ago. Let's go look. It looks like 1941, where they were doing things that people know today might be very unhealthy. He crawled into bed and fell asleep at once. The next morning, the man telephoned the zoo. George watched him. He was fascinated. Then the man went away. George was curious. He wanted to telephone too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What fun! Wait a minute. Is George supposed to be dialing all those numbers? No. Ding-a-ling-ling! George had telephoned the fire station. The firemen rushed to the telephone. "Hello, hello," they said, but there was no answer. Then they looked for the signal on the big map that showed where the telephone call had come from. They didn't know it was George. They thought it was a real fire. Oh no. "Hurry Hurry, hurry, hurry! The firemen jumped onto the fire engines and onto the hook and ladders. Ding dong, ding dong! Everyone out of the way! Hurry, hurry, hurry! Are they going to be happy when they get there and see that a monkey called them? No! The firemen rushed into the house. They opened the door. No fire. Only a naughty little monkey. Oh, catch him, they cried. George tried to run away. He almost did, but he got caught in the telephone wire and a thin fireman caught one arm and a fat fireman caught the other. You fooled the fire department, they said. We will have to shut you up or you can't do any more harm. They took him away and shut him in a prison. Oh, man. He's just a monkey. George wanted to get out. He climbed up to the window to try the bars. Just then the watchman came in. He got on the wooden bed to catch George, but the watchman was too big and heavy. The bed tipped up, the watchman fell over, and quick as lightning, George ran out through the open door. Oof! Oh no. Do you think he's going to be very happy? No. He hurried through the building and out onto the roof. And then he was lucky to be a monkey. He walked onto the telephone wires. Wait, is that a safe thing to do? No, not at all. No, George, you might get electrocuted or fall down. Quickly and quietly over the guard's head, George walked away. He was free. Down the street, outside the prison wall, stood a balloon man. A little girl bought a balloon for her brother. George watched. He was curious again. He felt he must have a bright red balloon. He reached over and tried to help himself, but what's going to happen next? He has his hand on all the balloons. Oh, is he going to fall? Is the man going to notice him? Let's read to find out. Instead of one balloon, the whole bunch broke loose. In an instant, the wind whisked them all away, and with them went George, holding tight with both hands. The balloons are carrying George away. Up, up he sailed, higher and higher. The houses looked like toy houses, and the people like dolls. George was frightened. He held on very tight. Oh no. At first, the wind blew in great gusts. Then it quieted. Finally, it stopped blowing altogether. George was very tired. Down, down he went, bump, on to the top of a traffic light. Everyone was surprised. The traffic got all mixed up. George didn't know what to do. Then he heard someone call, "George!" He looked down and saw his friend, the man with the big yellow hat. George was very happy. The man was happy too. George slid down the post, and the man with the big yellow hat put him under his arm. Then he paid the balloon man for all the balloons. That was very fair. And then George and the man climbed into the car, and at last away they went. To the zoo. What a nice place for George to live. Now, was George living in safe ways in the regular city? No, he was getting into lots of trouble. I'm glad he's somewhere that he can be safe. I enjoyed, and I'm so thankful that you read this book with me. If you would like to share with other people, go ahead and click the like button right now so it can be shared. If you would like your very own copy, take a look at my link in the description box so you can get your very own copy. And if you'd like to hear my next story, go ahead and click the subscribe button now. Until next time, bye.